If you can hear me, if you can see me, say something in the chat. Would love to know who is here. You can go ahead and introduce yourselves. People are just getting in on the Zoom highway of life. I just sent a follow-up email out because it's my first time using StreamYard. I usually do it manually via Zoom and I send email newsletters. And I said, let's be fancy. Let's get on StreamYard and see how it rolls out. So happy Webinar Wednesday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you can hear me, let me know in the chat are streaming in from. And what is your goal for today? Hi, Audra. I saw my girl Audra on here and I was like, wow, who's here? Chantel. So great. Oh, you're ready to learn? You're born ready, right? You don't have to get ready because what do? You stay ready. Love it. Okay. I love that they have the StreamYard duck. I'm not mad about that duck. It's all good. It's all good. Usually when I do it on Zoom, I have a second screen and I can see what you see. But since I can't see what you see, you're going to have to be my eyes and ears. So, oh, hi, Maya. So great to have you here. By the way, did all of you get an email from StreamYard or did you get an email from me? I'm just curious because I'm hoping that everyone got the link just because we have a lot of people and I don't want to waste your time by waiting too long for them to start. But we are going to start momentarily. While we're waiting for the rest of the people to come to the dance floor, let me share. Oh, you got it from StreamYard? Oh, you did get it from StreamYard. Okay. So then everybody else will probably watch on the replay. Fantastic. Okay. Because I have so much content. Those of you that know me, which pretty much is everybody, I looked at the roster of people that were here and everyone has heard me speak or has been on my social media marketing at least once or twice. So, oh, cool. So I can see what you're seeing. It's all good. I love this fancy schmancy StreamYard. And by the way, everyone, Canva Magic, for those of you that know me, know I teach AI. They created the PowerPoint for me. Of course, I edited it, customized it, but I have so much to teach you beyond mindset, beyond marketing, beyond AI. Today, we're going to talk about mastering the art of paid speaking, right? So, how many of you are already out there speaking? Let me know in the chat. Are you speaking now? Just say yes or no. Are you speaking now, Audra, Maya, Chantel? Oh, we got power women in the house. Excuse me. Are you speaking? Yes or no? Just put it in the chat. Okay, good, good, good. And awesome. Okay, so some of you are speaking, some of you are not. It's about half and half. And how many of you have taken training courses before on the art of paid speaking? Just want to assess where everybody's at before we get started. It's really important that you know your audience as a paid speaker. You want to make sure, first rule, if you take nothing else, is the better you know your audience and what their pains and problems are, the easier it is going to be to connect with them. And the more you connect with them, guess what? The more you get paid. Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay, awesome. So we're going to talk about all of the different strategies to get paid. We're going to talk about some of the mistakes that new speakers make or even seasoned speakers have made. By the way, I've made all of them. I'm also going to give you some very, very practical strategies on how, if you're already speaking, you can take it up a notch, add some zeros to your speaking fee. If you're not speaking, the only thing that it takes is an intention, a desire, a mindset, and a willingness to be uncomfortable and take inspired action. That's right, a willingness to be uncomfortable because speaking is not comfortable. Even for people that are seasoned speakers, there still is, as the great philosopher Ludacris says, is if you're not nervous, then you are not committed, right? So there's always going to be a little bit of anxiety, but I turn that into excitement. All right. So, for those of you that are unfamiliar with me and my profession and what I do as a speaker, I have been speaking. It's my 22nd year as a paid speaker. I had the first intention to speak in the 90s. I'll tell you the story in a moment. But I've spoken for women's groups, women's associations, Latina groups or Latinx groups, Latin Z groups, whatever we're called now, colleges, universities, leadership conferences, some really cool leadership conferences with Oprah's boyfriend, Stedman Graham, Lucy Liu. Got to share the stage with Eva Longoria, Marianne Williamson, Eckhart Tolle, Don Miguel, and Michael Beckwith, keynote conferences. I also got the real great pleasure of speaking in front of gang members, juveniles in detention centers, juveniles in drug rehab. I got to speak in several prisons. No, not prison, jail. White collar criminals. They were really sweet, very nice. Fortune 100 companies, NASA, Caltech, JPL, State Farm, Verizon, New York Life, CBS, Pluto, Viacom. Most recently, Netflix, who just asked me back. And I'm going to talk about that with you in a moment, how I landed Netflix and how I'm going to now do a speaker series with them. JP Morgan, Procter and Gamble. And by the way, at the end, I'm going to allow time for questions. So if you have any questions on any particular group that I've spoken to before, and to be able to find out how you can get in front of them, et cetera, feel free. By the way, this was a recent speaking gig that I did. This was on my vision board. To be speaking in Santa Barbara. My next territory, as I like to say, God has expanded my territory because through the grace of God, I am the messenger for the message and the vessel for a higher calling. Believe it or not, that's true. So I was able to fulfill that vision to speak in Santa Barbara, which I'm so excited. Lots more Santa Barbara gigs to come. So the wonderful benefit of speaking is you can get paid to travel the world. So I'm going to get started with my why for speaking because growing up, I never thought, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to become a paid speaker. In fact, when I was thinking what I was going to do when I grew up, I always thought I'm going to be a teacher. When we used to play house in the backyard, I was sharing with my dad. I was just with my dad when I was 7. We'd be in the backyard or the front yard, and I would get an easel and I would be at the easel and I'd be teaching all the kids in the neighborhood. What I was teaching them, I don't know, but I always knew that I wanted to help people, that if I had information, I wanted to share it like I'm doing right now. And, I grew up with my brother, David, and we grew up in New York, and then we moved over to Southern California. And, we're always very close. And back when I was about 16 years old, I had this exciting Valentine's Day planned. If you see this tall, handsome man in the corner, that was my boyfriend. Ooh la la, Jason Kane Tucker, gorgeous basketball player. We met walking down the street in the 90s in Westwood. There he was. There I was. We met, and we had kind of a long distance relationship because he ended up moving away after high school to Arizona. And so we were going to have the best Valentine's Day in the world because I had planned it. All that Jason needed to do was show up, and that was it. It was going to be the best Valentine's Day ever. But guess what happened? He had to work. So as soon as he called me on the phone and he said, Mijita, muñeca, I'm sorry. I can't, but every day is Valentine's Day with you. I was like, yeah, right. He's lucky I don't break up with him right now. But I was like, okay, well, what is Valentine's Day all about? It's about the month of love. So who do I love? And I was thinking about my brother because my parents had gotten divorced. My mom had married this gentleman who happened to be only about, I think, 5 years older than my boyfriend. I was like, Mom, what's going on? And then she had this cutie pie right here, my brother Cameron, who is now, believe it or not, 33 years old. But my mom married him and had him, and I was going to take my brother, David Cujino, for the weekend on Valentine's weekend, because isn't that what love's about? Poor Jason, he missed out. I'm still having a great Valentine's Day. So my brother and I, we love to dance, and we practice the Remember the Time video. Do you remember the Michael Jackson video? Remember the time. We were practicing the moves from the video and we had a great time. And then he went home and I just felt good. I wasn't even upset with Jason anymore. I was like, great. This was awesome. Everything's good. And then I got a call from my mom and there was just like a complete panic in her voice. And she told me that my brother David had been taken to the hospital, that he had had an epileptic seizure. And no big deal. My brother had had epileptic seizures all of his life. He was born with epilepsy because he wasn't breathing when he was born. And so this wasn't that big of a deal, but definitely something for my dad and I to drive up from Chatsworth all the way up the 14 freeway to Antelope Valley Hospital in Lancaster to go see how my brother was doing. And we walk into the hospital at Antelope Valley, and these two women came over to us. And I looked at them, and they weren't nurses. They were social workers. And they said, "We're sorry, but your brother David didn't make it. He passed away on the helicopter ride on the way to the hospital." And as you can believe, I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. I was just with him the whole weekend. And I demanded to go into the room. And I ran into the room and I saw my brother's body, but his soul was gone. And I just did not know what to do with my life. I was 19 years old. And I was just in a state of utter depression, just not wanting to go on, not wanting to live, not wanting to. I just couldn't trust a world or a God that could take away my brother. I couldn't understand it. And every time somebody would try to console me, they would be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. What a tragedy that this happened." Every time they said that, I would feel worse. Like, what could I have done? Could something have been different? He had an appointment with the neurologist on the Monday. He passed on the Sunday. Could we have done something differently? Blah, blah, blah. Survivor's guilt, everything. I didn't want to live. And I was making plans and steps to not continue to be here. And I had a life-changing experience. I went to bed and, I think I did a prayer before I went to sleep just because I was so mad at God. It wasn't even a happy prayer. It was like an angry prayer. And I was so frustrated and I didn't know what to do. And that night I had this dream, and this dream was like a lucid dream. It wasn't like a cognitive dream. It was like an experience. And my brother came in the dream like in a visitation. And in this visitation, he said to me that his passing, I don't even like to call it death because I believe that our souls are infinite and eternal. Our bodies have a limit, but our souls are infinite, and we incarnate and evolve to different levels of consciousness. That's my belief. Anyway, my brother came to me in the dream and he said, my passing was not an accident, that it was my time. And it was my destiny. It wasn't a tragedy. It was my destiny. And you have a destiny. And your destiny is to teach and speak. And I remember him saying speak. I thought maybe I heard him wrong. I'm like, he must have meant teach because I'm a teacher. I'm going to be a preschool teacher or a college professor. I'm not going to be a speaker. You know what I mean? And he said, speak. And I remember I wrote it down. I woke up in the morning and I cannot tell you how much peace I had, because up until that moment, I had so much guilt. I had so much blame. I just had so much anger. I had so much sadness. And I was just like not wanting to be here at all. And I was 19. And then when he said, you have a message, you have something to speak about, I just kept searching, right? So from that moment on, I was like, my whole life was no longer like accidental. Everything was intentional. Everything was purposeful. I had a purpose. He said I was here to speak. And here's what I want you to know about being a paid speaker. Don't focus on the how, because I'm going to share with you step by step how. What you want to focus on is what, right? So I kept asking, what am I here to speak about? Because that may change and it may evolve. I know for me, It was stress management. It was work-life balance. It was leadership. It was time management. Right now, it was marketing. Right now, I'm teaching AI, which I never in my whole human life ever thought I would speak on, but I'm speaking on it. So when you ask yourself the question, what does my story, what does my unique talent, skills, and abilities, what does my expertise call for the world that needs to hear it? What is the pain and problem that I solve that audiences want to hear? And just keep asking yourself, what? So I just didn't worry about the how because I trusted so much in that visitation that this was preordained, that this was divine order, that this is what I was synchronistically supposed to do. And I was just going to step by step trust the process and go forward. And I wasn't just speaking for myself, I was speaking for my brother David. He's my why. He's my legacy. He's the reason why every day I do something that I'm scared to do, whether it's speaking on StreamYard for the first time when I can't even see you. Should have done Zoom so I could see your beautiful faces. It's okay. I miss seeing you, but whatever. We're trying a new thing. Always trust that if you have a little whisper, a guidance that says it's your time to speak, that you have everything within you, all of the capacity, all of the resources to be able to fulfill it. It's just about focusing on the what and the why and not the how. Because if you focus on the how, you're not going to go forward, right? Because there's so many things we don't know how to do. But my marketing coach, which you probably have heard of, Marie Forleo, she wrote a book called Everything is Figure Outable. You will figure it out. But guess what? You don't have to because I already did. I already took $10 million worth of training. When I say I took $10 million worth of training, maybe not 10 million, but a lot. Maybe 100,000, maybe more, maybe 250. Don't tell my dad. 250,000. Don't let him see this on YouTube. He just came to hear me speak last night. It was so cute. I took a T. Harv Eker Train the Trainer course with Blair Singer. It was a 21-day speaker training intensive. I took Lisa Nichols, which you know, her public speaking company went on the New York Stock Exchange, the only woman and the only woman of color to go public with her speaking business. Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith was the first person that invited me on stage at Agape International Spiritual Center. That's when I got to speak on the same stage as Don Miguel Ruiz, Eckhart Tolle, Marianne Williamson, Reverend Michael, just every spiritual leader you can ever imagine. I got to share the stage and speak there. Dr. Joe Dispenza, who was in the movie The Secret, in the movie What the Bleep. So was Dr. Michael. I did a week training with him. It wasn't on speaking. It was actually on not speaking at this meditation retreat, which was so powerful. I did this $5,000 wealthy speaker Jane Atkinson course. I did an NLP training course, which, believe it or not, more than any of the other paid speaking classes helped me. Do you want to know why? You want to know why that NLP course helped and what you need to know about it? Is because everything about getting paid speaking and getting paid even more for speaking, those of you that are already getting paid, it's your mindset. It's your consciousness. The degree that you believe you can get paid is the degree you will get paid. I had a client that was stuttering, just like our president, Joe Biden, that stutters, that his first gig that I coached him to got paid $5,000 to speak. What? I honestly, I didn't underestimate him, but I didn't know he would right off the bat get 5,000. But why? Because he was trained in NLP. He had no subconscious limiting beliefs when it came to his capacity for speaking. He knew he could do it. So that was an amazing class. I went to Toastmasters, which, by the way, for those of you that do not have a lot of practice with stage time and speaking, I highly recommend you join a local Toastmasters. It's a nonprofit organization. I was a president, of course, because everything I do, I have to go to the next level. I was a president of 2 different chapters, and I attended twice a week for about 10 years. People say, oh, you're so natural as a speaker. They don't realize I've had So much training. I don't even want to think about the money, think about the years and the time, right? I've also been a member of the National Speakers Association, which when I joined in 2006, you had to qualify. You had to show them a list of your speaking engagements, of your paid speaking engagements. And if you did not have $50,000 worth, this was a long time ago, 2006, 50,000 in a year, you couldn't join. You weren't qualified to join. So I have all this training. And guess what I learned? I'm about to share with you as much as I possibly can in a 50-minute webinar. All right. So, first thing before we go over the mistakes that people made, what I learned is that you are what I like to call an infopreneur, right? You have expertise. And whether your expertise comes from the school of hard knocks, which is like your story. Remember, Tony Robbins would tell his story, how he lived in this one bedroom in Venice Beach and he ate out of his bathtub because he didn't have a kitchen. Remember, school of hard knocks? Or if you had a life experience, like I shared with you, the life experience of my brother, who is my why and my reason for stepping on stage. And we step on stage not to be a sage on the stage, look at me. We step on the stage, and I say we because I attract people like you that are not doing it for the money, that you are doing it to make a difference. You are doing it because you're a soul-based visionary, right? You're not going to be satisfied with just somebody gives you money. Not that we don't want to get paid, but it's bigger than that. It's because you have a calling. You heard a little whisper that says, you know what? You have something to say. You have a benefit that's really going to help inspire and transform lives, and you have to get it out. I remember when I was not speaking, I was literally getting kind of like a sore throat. I kept losing my voice. It was because I needed to allow the message to be heard. And like I said earlier, I don't consider myself the sage on the stage. Every time I go on to speak, I ask to be a messenger for a very important message and that I know the exact words to say. I know when to pause, that the audience is able to receive it, that their lives are informed, inspired, and transformed by everything that is said, and that they leave absolutely inspired. So it's not from me, it's through me. It's not from you, it's through you. But you better believe, and I will get upset and advocate for you, that you deserve to be paid. Because you know what people will say? I had this happen to me the other day. And to be honest with you, this is why I stopped speaking for a certain group. I'm not going to say which group, but it's like a whole group, an organization, a certain group of people that they would say this to me. They would say, you know, you just need to do it for the community. Do you know how many hours I put into the community? And just need to do it. That's some bullshit. Sorry, excuse my language. That's some BS, okay? Because here's the deal. Yes, you can do community service. Yes, you can be of service. I'm of service to so many places, doing so many things. I do my volunteer work. But if this is your profession and this is your expertise, like, do you say to your doctor, oh, I'm not going to pay you. You should just be doing it for the community because it's your community diligence? No, you want to pay your doctor. Your doctor is an expert. You want to pay him or her, right? You want to pay him or her, right? You want to make sure you get that value. So you definitely want to make sure that you are getting the value you deserve, because whether you have the education, whether you have the experience, whether you have an expertise in a certain area, whether you have a life experience, all these E's are what makes you special, and you deserve to be paid. And guess what? I believe, and I'm going to invite you, if you want to come to my program at the end, you deserve to be abundantly paid to speak, not just a little bit. You need to add some zeros to, whatever you're earning right now, zeros. And if you're earning zero because you're not charging, then guess what? Add 2 or 3 zeros to that. Okay. All right. So let's talk about some of the mistakes that people make. Oh my goodness. Let me tell you. Right. So a lot of times when I'm coaching experts, because I do, I don't do life coaching. I do public speaking coaching. I do marketing strategy and AI strategy to help people, blow up their career, right? So many clients would come to me and I would ask them, first question that every marketer asks, you may have heard this if you have a marketing coach, is who is your target market when it comes to your speaking? And you know what people would say to me? The people that would fail, this is what they would say. They would say, "Oh, I'll speak to anyone. I'll speak to anyone on any topic." And let me tell you, that is absolutely the biggest mistake that novice, untrained speakers make. Why is that a mistake? Let me tell you, I did it when I first started. I did it. I literally would say yes to anything. Oh, you need an emotional intelligence speaker? Oh, you need a leadership speaker? Oh, you need whatever. And it was kind of hilarious because I was asked to speak a lot in my beginning of speaking on work life balance. And I was so darn out of balance. But the blessing, I think why the universe had me speak on that topic is because I needed to learn it. And then I ended up writing a book about it, Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict, which is how I overcame burnout. And I realized that was the only way God could get me to hear what he was trying to communicate to me because he was speaking it to me and through me to them, but it was getting into me. You get it? Right. So oftentimes we're speaking on topics that we need to learn ourselves. Right. So we don't want to be everything to everyone because, as every marketing coach that I've ever had, and I have about 5 coaches, besides spending 250,000 at least on speaking training programs, I've also spent so much money on coaches because what does a coach do? It gets you to be an expert. You don't have to take all the little steps. You can learn from their mistakes. So you definitely don't want to make the mistake of trying to be everything to everyone because you cannot grow and expand. Why? Greatest book, one of the greatest books I read when I first started my speaking career. Write this down. I think I have it over there. It's called Speak and Grow Rich. You know the book Think and Grow Rich, Speak and Grow Rich. And it's probably outdated now because it was written so long ago. But the major concept was about focusing on the target market, being an expert in that niche. Because when you do, you can take that microphone and you own the room because you are the expert. When you try to know a little bit of everything, you're, what is that? The jack of all trades and a master of none, or Jill of all trades and a master of none. We don't want to be that. We want to be the expert. Do you know why? Because the expert is who gets paid more. Think about it. So, like, if you're a doctor and you're a generalist, you get paid the regular salary. But if you're a specialist and you specialize in this unique niche, oh, you're a plastic surgeon, oh, you're an obstetrician, you get paid more. So, we want to focus and narrow, not be everything to everyone. Okay, cool. Oh, can I tell you a time that I totally bombed? That's kind of funny. So, I don't know what it was. I was speaking to a group of teachers, and because I was trying to be everything to everyone, I was just not prepared because there's only so much knowledge you can keep in your mind, right? And if you're teaching and speaking on every topic, you're not going to be the expert on it. And I was like last minute preparing for this and I felt very intimidated. It was in my 20s. I'm like, was I? Yeah, I was like in my late 20s. And I remember looking in the room, it was for a teachers conference. And I made the biggest mistake. I said to the audience, listen to this. I said, I know many of you have been around longer than I've been born. And they were like, oh, I might as well have said, you're all old. And I don't know anything. It was like my lack consciousness just came out on the microphone. And like literally, if they could have booed, they would have booed. But instead of booing, they just started talking and they totally disengaged from me. And I will never make that mistake again of trying to be everything to everyone. We want to niche to grow rich. Okay. Awesome. All right. Any questions, by the way? Oh, Danny. Great question. How do you figure out your target audience? Yes. We will talk about that in a moment. So, yes. This is only an hour. Let me tell you the mistakes we're making, and then we'll talk about that. That's actually the very last slide. Okay, I'm like looking over at Danny over there. Okay, great question though. The almost the second to last slide, I'm going to talk about that because that is the key. Discovering your target audience. I'm glad that that's hot on your mind, Danny. Okay, mistake number 2. You create a website. I know many, no offense to younger generations, but younger generations, even when we say younger, even like a toddler has an iPad. Next thing you know, the toddler has made a website. Have you seen the commercial where they did this? The toddler literally made a website, set up a YouTube video, and then is on TikTok going viral. Why? Because these young whippersnappers, they are good at technology, right? So I know, and because I've been on the speaking circuit, I was on the college circuit for a while. I stopped doing that. Do you want to know why I stopped doing the college circuit? Because you fly, pay for your hotel, and then colleges pay you sometimes 2 months, 3 months after, which is okay. But if you have gig back to back, at which I did, I was putting all this money up front. And then sometimes they were taking 6 months to pay me. So I didn't like waiting 90 days to 6 months to get paid. So I stopped doing the college market. But so these college kids, whippersnappers, some of them, they watched a YouTube video online and they're like, you know what? I'm going to make a website as a paid speaker. And their website looks great. They have all the information, right? But they may not have the experience. Not everyone, right? So building a website is not the answer for getting paid speaking engagements. The answer for getting paid speaking engagements is becoming visible. So, how I got my first really great, amazing clients, and I really believe in vision boards. Those of you that follow me on social media, which I think is most of you, you know I do vision board workshops. And I did a vision board workshop at Netflix recently. That was something I never expected. But on my vision board, I remember I would have all my dream companies on there, right? And I'm like, how am I going to get into JP Morgan, or how am I going to get into, Procter and Gamble, or these big, British Petroleum, etc. You know what I did? I joined a networking organization in my niche. So at that time, my niche was professional Latinas. Why? Because I was a professional Latina. And I thought, not that your niche, Danny, needs to be yourself, but for me, it was just the easiest niche that I knew. I knew the pains and problems of a professional Latina, overwhelmed, burnt out, stressed, right? And that could be for anyone, but I'm just telling you, that was going to be my niche, because the more you focus your energy on one group, whether it's women in leadership, or college students in tech, or whatever it is, the more you focus your niche, the easier it's going to be to penetrate the market. We'll talk more about that later. So I partnered up with the Latin Business Association, and I created this was in 94. I created like a Latina business entrepreneur network. And the irony is, the woman that I partnered up on that group with is my next door neighbor right now in Marina Del Rey. I'm like, wait a minute. We used to work together. She was like 21 at the time. I think I was 25 or something. Anyway, so when I started that group, I volunteered. This was totally volunteer. And once a month, I would get to speak. And guess what? Everyone in the audience was professional Latinas working for a company. And guess what they did after they heard me speak? They brought me into their company. They told their supervisor, oh, there's a great speaker. So guess what that gave me, Danny? Guess what that gave me, Maya? Credibility. I didn't have to send a postcard. I didn't have to send an email. I didn't have to do a cold call. I was already vetted and approved by the person that worked for them. So they know if they put their name on the line that they're vouching for me, right? So then that's how I got in the door. That's how I got into Princess Cruises. That's how I got into British Petroleum, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So we want to make our audience members our brand ambassadors. How do we do that? We do a great speech. How do we do a great speech? Go to Toastmasters, practice, practice, practice. Or like this, during the pandemic, when basically I thought my career was over, for a while, maybe not a long while, maybe for a month, I crawled into a little shell like a snail, and I was like, "Oh man, I think I need to move to the beach." That was my solution. I was living in Mar Vista, and I was like, "I think I need to move to the beach." And I moved back to Venice Beach and just started taking walks on the ocean and getting clarity. And I said, "You know what? Now's not my time to crawl into a hole and be a snail. Now's my time to be of service, because it's not about sage on a stage, focus on self. It's how can I serve? How can I help?" And I started doing webinars every Wednesday. I did a thing called, just like today, Webinar Wednesday. And from Webinar Wednesday, guess what I got? Contract after contract after contract. I did my taxes recently, and the year of the pandemic, I probably made more money than I did in the last 3 years. And I did not have to wear shoes. I did not have to leave my house. It was wonderful. Anyway, so we don't want to create a website and wait around. What do we want to do? We want to go where our target market is, or bring them to us on a webinar, bring them to us on a live, bring them to us on a reel, right? And we can do this in person. Recently, I partnered up with the Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce. I offered to do an AI training for them, and I wasn't going to get paid. There's certain times you don't get paid, but after I did that, they are now having me on a series with all of the biggest clients that they have on Rodeo Drive, like Tiffany's and Coach and the Beverly Hilton. And so now I'm going to do a speaker series that's going to go completely next level, right? Another example of that is I volunteered to speak at an AI conference. I didn't mean to volunteer, but this leads me to the next slide about being paid. Wait, let me go to this next slide before I go. I want to mention one other thing. Okay, I'm going to go back to the being visible. So this organization called EDC and Weave and Score asked me to speak for free, right? There's time to speak for free and a time not to speak for free. I don't actually call it free speaking when the target audience can hire you for future paid gigs. That's not free speaking. Lisa Nichols, who took her company public, says that's called marketing. That's not free speaking, that's marketing. Because if you get on a stage where everyone in the audience has the capacity to hire you in the future, then you better get on as many stages as possible where your target market is, if they're decision makers. So with this particular organization, they wanted me to go to Santa Barbara and leave my puppy, who's my baby. I'm like, oh no, I can't leave my puppy if you don't have a budget. So I didn't leave. I did it on Zoom. But I don't care if you're speaking to one person in an audience, 1,000 people like this, where I can't see you at all. I'm speaking right now to a green dot. I'm pouring my heart and soul out to a green dot, imagining each of your wonderful faces, because I know you're a messenger for an important message, and I want to support you in getting it out there. So I gave it my all. And guess who was in the audience? Santa Barbara City College, right? So Santa Barbara City College heard me passionately speak, and I kept mentioning them because they were the host of the event. So I'm like, and you can get an intern from Santa Barbara City College. I was kind of acting like I was a spokesperson for them, and I kept product placing them. Guess what? They just offered me not just a speaking gig, which we don't want to get one gig, we want to get contracts. They offered me a multi-year contract to develop an AI curriculum at Santa Barbara City College, that they're going to pay me for the curriculum, pay me to be a professor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh my God, that was my dream. I was like, I wanted to be near Oprah and the Prince and Meghan and all of Montecito. I was like so excited, right? But I was like, I never would have gotten that contract by writing an email. I never would have gotten that contract by sending a postcard. I never would have got that contract by having my website waiting around. So we do want to speak for free, or as I like to say, at audiences that can hire us. Another example, so you want to ask yourself some questions, right? Is will the people in the audience be able to hire me at a future event? Do they have that type of capacity, right? Also ask yourself, can I videotape this presentation? Because it will look good. So I videotaped that Beverly Hills Chamber that I did for free. And now I just got booked for a $3,000, not a lot, but not a little. It's a video shoot on AI. And if I didn't videotape that free gig, then guess what? I would have nothing to submit for this opportunity. So ask yourself, can I get a video? Third question you want to ask yourself is, will I be able to sell my products or services afterward? Ooh, I've got a good trick for you. Listen to this. So, usually, if you have a book, you could sell a book. If you have coaching, you could sell coaching. If you have an online program, you can sell an online program. Uh, but what if they say, oh no, you can't sell anything? I've had people that say that. No problem. You know what you do? Write this down. This is good. You give away something. So, say you're an expert at real estate, right? You have a QR code on your last slide, and you have everyone take a picture of it, and they get on your email list. But it's a special email list. I use ConvertKit, which I'll invite you if you're not already on my newsletter list. You go to deborahderas.com. You'll get invited to all my webinars, live events. That Santa Barbara City College AI program is going to be free, by the way. And you can go and get certified and attend, and it's going to be online. Awesome. I'll invite you. Make sure you get on the list, Deborah Deras. So you get the QR code, right? And it gets them to get on your list. And then once they opt in your list, you upsell them to your program. So you're not selling because they said you couldn't sell, but they didn't say you couldn't give away a freebie. And that freebie leads to a second email, which is an offer. Maybe you offer coaching. Maybe you offer a training. Maybe you offer a series. Maybe you offer consulting. Maybe you offer a product. There you go. There you go. So I wouldn't say yes to events like if somebody asked me to speak at a high school. Oh no, I've learned to say no because you can't be everything to everyone. I used to, when I was making a mistake as a speaker, speak at high schools, and I realized that is not my audience. I actually prefer speaking at middle schools. They're sweeter. Those of you who have kids, you already know they're sweeter and kinder. But imagine being in front of 1,000 high school students with zero attention span. Some of you could do it. I cannot do it. I'm not the one. I am not the one, right? So you have to know when to say no, because if you don't, you end up bombing. Okay. So let's go back to this slide. Okay. So I mentioned that. Now we're going backward. It's okay. We can go in whatever order we want. We're speakers. We can do what we want. We command our audience. We command that microphone. We can do what we want to do. Okay, let's go. Mistake number 3, being invisible online. So many people that come to me for coaching, or they come to I have a paid speaker program. I had a mastermind during the pandemic. Before the pandemic, I had a mastermind program with expert speakers, blah, blah, blah. And I would ask them, so how's your social media presence? Do you know what they would say to me? Some of them. That's why they were in my program. I don't like social media. I'd be like, listen, friend, I don't like social media. And you know why they don't like social media? I can understand that. They may not like social media that's about selfies, or they may not like social media that feels like an invasion of their personal privacy, or they may not like the politics of TikTok, or they may not like the craziness of Snapchat, or they may not like the politics of Meta and Facebook, etc. But when it comes to growing your speaking business, can I tell you that besides my in-person networking, which I don't do, I've only done 2 networking events in like 5 years. I just stopped. But I mean, I did for 25 years, did a million. So I kind of just stopped. But guess what I do now? Because I'm so grateful for social media. I go live. I have a presence online. We cannot be invisible as paid, abundant speakers. We can't, right? We can't be invisible as paid, abundant speakers. Do you know why? Because people won't hire us. Okay. So believe it or not, Procter and Gamble hired me from Facebook. Somebody in one of my audiences at this Latina event, I don't even know what event it was, doesn't really matter, some professional Latina event, she worked for Procter and Gamble. And when Procter and Gamble was looking for a keynote speaker for their conference, it was in Kentucky, Ohio. To be honest, I don't know where it was. Kansas City. I don't know where it was, but because sometimes when you speak, it's so fast, you don't even know what city you're in, and you never get to see the city unless you plan to stay. I don't know where it was. Anyway, Procter and Gamble. It was a $7,500 keynote that came from Facebook. Why? Because I was visible. People would be like, "You're everywhere. I see you all the time." And now, by the way, the other thing I teach besides public speaking is social media marketing strategy and also AI. And guess what? AI and social media marketing strategy are your friend because now it has never been faster or easier to grow and scale your speaking business. Why? Because guess what? You're going to love this. You're going to love this. How are we doing on time? You're going to love this. You know why you're going to love this? AI will be your speaking agent. AI will write the copy for you, will position you, write your speaking plan, everything. So cool. I love it. Church's chicken. I remember praying to God. I'm like, God, because I was speaking at a lot of churches. They were paying me like $150, which really didn't cover the gas, which didn't matter because I was not driving. I was taking the train or paying a friend to drive me. I don't really drive that much. Anyway, I couldn't do it anymore. Driving to Lancaster, going around, I was like, I can't do it. So I said, I just need a church with a budget. And I remember going on Facebook Live and I did a talk. And in the Facebook Live, you could see the comments. And I saw a comment from this lady that I had coached her, not formally, but informally. She just asked me for a tip at an event. And I gave her a tip and she was so grateful. And I guess she became an agent, a sales agent for a franchise company. And she said, would you mind if I pitched you a company? I'm like, sure. Who are you pitching me to? And then she said, "Oh, it's a franchise. It's called Church's Chicken." It wasn't like the Church's Chicken stores. It was like speaking at a franchise conference to the owners of Church's Chicken. It's pretty interesting. But the sad part was I had just landed a gig, and guess where? Umbria, Italy. How did I get a gig in Italy? It was from Instagram. I had seen one of my coaching clients who I had coached to become a paid speaker. Guess what? She got a gig in Italy. And I was like, gosh, girl, so many of my clients have exceeded me and I'm not mad. I'm like, they're like at the next level. One of my clients has 900,000 people on her Instagram, almost 1,000,000. I'm like, okay. One of my clients got a Netflix special. Okay. I'm not jealous. I'm happy because I don't have kids. So my client's success is like my reward, right? So my client got to speak at Umbria, Italy. I'm like, wow, congratulations. You're like next level. I'm so proud of you. She's like, oh, they asked me back in September, but I can't do it. Would you want to do it? And I was like, oh my God, I got this Church's Chicken thing. But guess what? I did both. I went to Italy and then I left I was doing a vision board workshop there at a women's retreat on a vineyard. Oh my God, that was epic. And Lenny Kravitz was speaking there. Was not speaking. He was performing there in Perugia. Awesome. It was amazing. Anyway, I had to leave to go back to Houston. Could you imagine going from Italy to Houston during the summer? Oh my God, I gotta breathe. But it was worth it. It was worth it, right? Verizon, another big client. This is a really good strategy for you. Verizon came to me from YouTube. Why do you think, as a speaker, it's very important that you have a presence on YouTube? Number one, YouTube is the largest search engine. Number two, YouTube is a video platform. If I'm going to hire someone for speaking, the first thing that I want to know is, can you speak? So I'm going to look to see you live, right? And where am I going to go? YouTube. And maybe if they're older, when I say older, I hate to say it, but over 40, I don't want to be older. I want to be younger. Anyway, so if you're over 40, you don't go to YouTube. Where do you go? If you're not into AI, you go to Google. But guess what? Google owns YouTube. And when you learn how to optimize your YouTube channel, guess what? You're found on the first page. If you go right now to Google and you type mindset speakers, you'll see sponsored ads that people are paying for, but most people don't click on those because they're paying to be there. They didn't earn their spot. You'll see that mindset speakers, my YouTube page comes up right there. So that's another hack to be able to get visible. All right. Okay. All right. So we talked about speaking for free at the wrong venues. We want to say no to what is not going to lead to paid speaking and say yes to what is going to lead to paid speaking. And in the beginning, it's okay to say yes if you need the practice. It's like comedians will go to a small venue, a small club just to try out some jokes. So if you need practice on the podium, because if you haven't been speaking a lot, you know, there's just everything goes wrong when you're speaking. Like lighting goes wrong, air goes wrong, mics go wrong. You want to get practice being on stage so when things go wrong, it doesn't affect you. You're like, okay, all right. I had an earthquake. I had this, had that, mic, this, that, PowerPoint didn't work, this, that. Nothing phases you. You're like ready for it. Okay. All right. So we talked about that. All right. So mistake number 5, undercharging for your services. So my coach had said, listen, Deborah, what's the most you ever got paid to speak? And at that time for like a keynote was 5,000, right? 5,000. And that's it's not really for an hour. I mean, maybe the speech was 45 minutes, but you have to think you're not paid by the hour when you're a professional speaker. You're paid by your expertise. Remember that. So when motivational speakers, keynote speakers are charging 10, 15, 20, my mentor right now, my speaking coach, she charges 25, 30. She gives me her leftover $7,500 gigs. Kind of funny. But if you are not charging the right amount for your level of expertise, guess what? People are going to think that you're not good. So I remember I was where was I? I was on vacation in Mexico, and this agent called me about a gig. And she said, like, oh, we have you in our speakers bureau. I just want to know, is your fee still $5,000? And I said, yes, because coming from, I don't know, I have immigrant family. My dad's from Colombia. My mom's family's from Lithuania. It was like, just be grateful for what you have. Don't ask for too much, etc. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother her by raising my fee. And guess what? They turned me down for this speaking series because they had a budget of 50,000 and I was asking for 5,000. So they didn't think I was a good enough speaker. I was like, what? And this 50,000 wasn't for one gig. I think it was for several, but they were expecting the speaker to be at least at the 10K level. And for those of you that are here, I mean, I don't know where you're at. Some of you, if you've never spoken before, you're not going to get paid 5, 10, 15,000 to start, but you might get started at 500 and very soon work your way up to 1,500. Or if you're like my client and you've had a lot of speaking training experience, you could start right at 5K and go up and up and up. How do you know when to raise your fees? When you're completely booked and you're like, oh, shoot, I don't even have time in the day. I better raise my fees, right? How do you know when to lower your fees? Right. And we'll talk about speed integrity another time. Maybe I'll do another webinar. If you guys want, I can do another webinar on how to negotiate fees, but that's if you already have speaking engagements. Okay, cool. All right. So let's talk about Danny's question. So Danny was asking me, well, how do you get clarity on your niche? You want to do some inner work to identify what is your unique selling proposition. What is your unique selling proposition? Because when you know what has you stand out from the competition, that's when you blow the competition out of the water. When I was positioning my niche, I didn't want to be known as a Latina speaker. I'm like, I'm more than just my ethnicity, and Latina isn't even all of who I am. I'm Jewish, I'm Lithuanian, I'm this and that. But when I called myself, this was my niche, the top, not number one, top Latina peak performance speaker, because on the circuit of high paid speakers, one of which is my neighbor over here, Nellie Galan, was the president of Telemundo, there'd be the same women that would be keynoting all the conferences, right? And so I said, well, I can't be the number one motivational speaker. That's Les Brown. Or I can't be the best peak performance speaker. That's Tony Robbins. I can't compete in that lane. But what lane can I own? And that's when I said, okay, I'll be the top Latina peak performance speaker. And then right now I switched up and I am doing mindset speaking, and I'm also doing AI training, which is a completely different thing. I actually did not pick that niche. That niche picked me. I did not a year ago think that that's what I would be training on, but anything I learn, I love to teach. And so I just, one person, I didn't even want to teach social media when I first started getting asked to speak that. And now I have 4 contracts with Long Beach City College, Pasadena City College, the EDC, and Weave, all on social media. Did I ever want to teach that? No. So to answer your question, Danny, sometimes you pick a niche and sometimes your niche picks you. And in my case, I have several niches. So I have one niche that's for small business development centers. I have one niche that is for corporate training and one niche that is for colleges. So I'm able, and it's really, I think, important. If the pandemic taught us anything as an entrepreneur, is you need to diversify your portfolio. Okay. If you don't, you could be left out, right? But what you want to ask yourself too is, who is your best audience? Because when I was making the mistake of trying to be everything to everyone, I was suffering because I was speaking, I was doing corporate training, which was horrible. I think I was getting paid. Well, my corporate training was horrible because I was subcontracting. So I was subcontracting out of someone who was probably getting paid $3,600 for a day and paying me $800. And I would be training from 9 to 4 all day long with people that were forced to be in the training, like sanitation workers who did not want to be there, police people, sheriff's people who did not want to be there. So I had different, it was just like painful. So I realized, okay, so government, municipalities that are forced to do training, that's not my audience. I'm not a corporate trainer. High schools, that's not my audience. I'm not a high school speaker. Colleges, they take too long to pay. That's not my audience. So it's kind of in the beginning, sometimes a process of elimination that you'll discover it. But what you need to do is you need to find the sweet spot. And now with AI, it's so easy to do market research to connect the dots of where your target audience is. It's like actually blowing my mind. I'm so excited because I'm able to not only help myself, but help you through the power of AI find where these gigs are. Oh, I'm sweating. It's so good. All right. So we want to get visible online and in person, right? So for those of you, when you think of social media marketing, it's like online networking. But for some of you, you're really good in front of people, and probably most of you because you're speakers, right? So you could walk into a room and own it and really connect with people, and you just want to be really clear. So you want when they say, what do you do? And you say, I help this group with this. I help small businesses learn generative AI to grow and scale their small businesses. I help public speakers to learn the business of speaking. I don't teach how to speak. I teach you the business of how to monetize your magnificence so you can get paid abundantly to do what you love. Ooh la la. I bought the domain name Monetize Your Magnificence. It's going to be my next program. I love that. That wasn't my idea. I get these divine downloads. That's why I get excited because it's not from my brain. It's from like the super conscious mind. I'm like, oh, I love it. That's good. That's good. So this is the journey to be paid abundantly to speak. I want to take some moments before we close out just to take some questions, and then we will wrap up. And all of you that are here today, I'm going to give you an invitation for one-on-one coaching. I think I have it here. I'm also going to be starting I have all these success stories. This is my client, Angelina. You can just start writing your questions in the chat. I'll come back to them. This is my client, Angelina Rosario. She, oh my God, her story is so amazing of how she healed from cancer. She was in my Synergy Speaker Mastermind group and ended up having a TED Talk, ending up, now she's making over 6 figures, like more. High 6 figures. She wrote a book. She's on her second book. I think she's going to do a second TED Talk. She's just freaking amazing, awesome. This is my other client. Oops, speaking is wrong. She could not, she made me want to cry because she did not even want to speak in front of like a small room of like 10 people. And now she's the founder of the Latina Golfers Association with over 3,000 women. And she was speaking at this event that I went to, and it was open bar outside in the rain. And you could hear her voice at the back of the room with so much power and so much confidence. And I was like, so proud. Oh my God. And then, okay, who's another success story? Oh, this is my client, Jennifer. So, by the way, you don't always need to be on the stage as a paid speaker. Say some of you are introverted experts and you don't want to be on a stage. I have this client, Jennifer Gaynor. I actually also officiated her wedding. When I first met her, she was a Pilates teacher. And then she did some NLP training with me and coaching with me. And then she became a relationship expert. And so she now, for a living, that's all she does, is she runs online training programs on relationships and does, I think, group coaching. And she just told me on Facebook the other day that she got a 3-year speaking contract on relationships, but she doesn't do it in person on a stage. Everything she does is online. She feels more comfortable because of her health and wellness to do that. So proud of her. Okay, who else? Who else are we proud of? Keep putting your questions. This is my client, Delphina, who also recently got married. She did the Be a Paid Speaker Now program. I have a new program that I'll invite you to. It's called Be Abundantly Paid, because the Be a Paid Speaker Now program did not have the AI that I just added to the new program. But if you're interested in hearing, I have all these testimonials from all these clients. You can click on this link. For the sake of time, I'm not going to play it because I want to get to your questions. But I do want to invite you, if anybody's interested, I'm going to be doing a Be Abundantly Paid to Speak. It's a cohort. So there's going to be about 12 people, 12 or 16. We'll see what the enrollment is. And it's going to be kind of like a webinar, but it's 2 hours. So we're going to go through everything that we talked about, but I'm going to be like a professor teaching you how to get your unique selling proposition, how to identify your audience, how to position yourself online and optimize your YouTube, your website, how to write content with AI, where to find with AI the actual speaking gigs. And then you're going to leave the program with an actual action plan, a marketing plan. So that's starting May 8th. And I just finished 4 cohorts. I'm on my 5th one on a marketing training. And I was thinking, why don't I do this with my public speaking people? So if you're interested in that, you can click on it. It's going to be starting in May. So if you're interested, I'll send you guys an email for the link. Everyone here that attended this is going to get a special rate for that class. So I'm really excited about it. If you want, everyone that signed up for this class gets a one-on-one with me so that, I can answer your questions, see what, your challenges are when it comes to paid speaking. There's a link. Some of you may be interested in doing one-on-one instead of a group. I love group, by the way, because I feel like not only do you learn from me, but you learn from them. Do I have a book on how to get paid speaking gigs? You're such a smart person, Audra. You know what I should do? You just gave me a brilliant idea. I owe you. I'll write a message to you in the introduction. You know what I'm going to do? When I do the Be Abundantly Paid speaking program, I'm going to make it into a book, and I'll make it into an audiobook because nobody reads. How about that? I'll get the whole thing transcribed, and then it'll be so easy to write it in a book. I'll take the transcription of the course and I'll get it into a book, and then I'll make it into an audiobook. How about that? How about that? But if you come to the course, then you get group coaching, of course. Okay, so let's get questions. So Danny says he's interested in negotiation. Yes. Negotiation is like my favorite topic because I used to be so bad at it and now I'm so good at it. Yes, yes, yes. So if you have a book, how can that get you speaking gigs? Oh, that's such a great That's such a great point. So this is my book. Do you know this book that I wrote? When did I write it? I don't even know. 2006, I think, was when I wrote it. I'm just now going to re-release. No, 2004, we wrote this book. And I told Netflix when I spoke over there that I wrote this book, and Netflix said they wanted to start a book club, but they wanted to have my book on audio. So I'm re-releasing that book on audio, and to do it with them. But um, how do you use your book to leverage speaking engagement? So everything that I just told you. So if you are getting visible, let's just take getting visible as one of your marketing strategies. If you are going to get visible, one of the things that you want to do is maybe speak on, say you have 5 chapters in your book, then every week you can speak on a topic of your book. Say your book is on burnout. It's like, okay, today we're going to talk about the 3 steps or the 3 signs that's showing that you're about to become burnt out. And then you say, by the way, we're going to be giving away a copy of the book. Everyone sign up for my email list and I'm going to pick a winner. Then when they sign up for your email list, guess what? You're going to give them a follow-up email and you're going to say, thank you so much for coming on my live. Because you did, here's a special offer for my book. And you give them like a special code and they can order it and maybe they get free shipping or something. Cool. Okay, bye. I know you have to sign off. I think we all have to sign off. Thank you for coming, Chantal. What was your first speaking gig and how did you land it? Oh my God, that's Maya Chasen with a great question. So my first speaking engagement came from my Toastmasters. Remember I said go to Toastmasters and practice? So I went to Toastmasters not to get a paid speaking engagement. I went to Toastmasters just to practice. And I had no intention of ever being a paid speaker, except, remember, my brother David gave me that little whisper that I was speaking, but I kind of put it at the back of my mind that I would be a paid speaker. I thought I would just speak as a teacher, as a professor, as a trainer. I never thought as like a keynote speaker. And so I was at this Toastmaster meeting. I'll never forget the girl that asked me. I'm still friends with her too. And that was back in 2006. Her name is Veronica. And she just said, Deborah, we had the Toastmasters at an advertising agency. And she said, oh, I have a client that's looking to hire a speaker for this Hispanic conference, which was my target audience. He said, would you be willing to speak? And I said, well, yeah, of course. And she said, they're paying $250. And I said, okay. Not considering it was in San Diego and I had to get a hotel and I had to drive. I was just grateful to get $250 for 45 minutes. And I was like, I'm rich. So that's how I got my first paid speaking gig. So the moral of that story, that's such a great question, is how do you get your first paid speaking gig? Get out there and speak. And the wonderful thing that you have that I didn't have when I started is you have social media. So, if you go live on whatever platform you think your target market is, by the way, as paid speakers, all of you, don't underestimate the power of LinkedIn and the power of YouTube. You can change your LinkedIn to creator mode. And when you change your LinkedIn to creator mode, you can go live. And with StreamYard, this platform that I'm using, you could simultaneously go live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook group, Facebook business page, all at the same time. So you just get out there to the masses and you don't know who's watching you. If you are consistent about focusing on your niche and solving the pain and problem that your target market has, people are going to be listening. And then they'll reach out to you. Oh, will you speak to this group? What are your fees? And then Danny, you'll call me to negotiate, right? And you're like, get a good deal. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. By the way, this is being recorded. So I am going to send this to you. I'll also send you an invite with the link to my calendar. I'm going to send you this presentation, which will be clickable. So you can click on the links and resources and you can watch it. Maybe when you hear it a second time, you'll get another insight, another aha. I want to thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate you. If there's future webinars that you want, I think what I want to do is every month, I'll do a monthly free webinar and I'll call it Webinar Wednesday. And I know I didn't give you a lot of time. I just 2 weeks ago decided to do this. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be watching on the replay. We have 120 people registered. So I'm so grateful that you showed up for yourself. I hope this was helpful. If any way I could support you, you can just click on that link and schedule a session with me, see how I can help you to get your message out there to the world. And just remember that if you have that little voice that says you have something to say, then follow it. Even if you do not know how, that's what I'm here for, to support you. Just focus on the what. And when you're nervous, lean into your why. Why am I doing this? For me, it's my brother. For you, you know your why, and you'll be able to accomplish anything. Okay? I truly believe with the power of synergy, anything is possible, and you have my synergistic community. Thanks so much. All right. You take care, everyone. Bye-bye.